Hi there, welcome back to the Win a Pageant podcast. I'm your coach, Alycia Darby, and today's special guest is Sabina G. Now, Sabina is an Emmy Award-winning television producer for ABC News. So she knows how to produce a good story. She's been working with ABC News for over 16 years. So in this episode, she really shares not only a lot about the industry, so she gives insights to how you can get exponentially trained to really know what you're doing to break into the broadcast industry. And she talks about what she looks for in a good story. Like what makes a story worthy of the news, and the news at what level? Is it local news or national or international news? So we dive into all things journalism on this podcast. I can't wait for you to meet Sabina. So without further ado, here she is. Hi, Sabina. Welcome to the Win a Pageant podcast. It is such a pleasure having you on today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I love, and I even see in the corner behind you there, the ABC News logos back there. It's so fun. I feel like I'm like living this celebrity life because I know you have done so many awesome shows that you've been a part of, that you've produced in ABC News, and of course, pageants as well. So I'm excited to hear, for those who do not yet know you or your story, could you just share a little bit of your background and how you got to do what you're doing today?
Sure, I can. So I've been with ABC for over a decade. Before that, I did work for local stations across actually Chicago. I did on air before I started working as a producer. So I kind of always wanted to do the newsy stuff, like more hard news and features more than entertainment, actually. And then that's the reason why I started sort of find ways to get educated as being a producer, because I started off in the broadcast industry on air and as, you know, working as an entertainment reporter for cable news in Chicago. And my whole mission was, I'm going to be a really great producer so I can work as, you know, a breaking news reporter, actually. But I loved producing when I started learning it, that my mission after that became to become, you know, a network producer. So, and that's sort of how my journey started. And yes, I did dabble in pageantry earlier in my life, but I was very young. I was a teenager. And it probably has to do also that I was a ballerina first. So my first career was being a classical ballerina. And I grew up in Europe, in Stockholm. Mm-hmm. So being a ballerina / model doesn't sort of go far away. It kind of goes hand in hand. And that's why I once was asked to be part of a pageant. I think it was my sister's idea, actually. And then I ended up winning that one pageant. So
lucky girl.
That's the experience I have. But I didn't stay long in it because I sort of wanted to get into broadcast as soon as possible.
Yeah,
so
that's great. So, and it's interesting to hear that you definitely had a clear vision of broadcast. Like you knew for a fact that that is the route that you wanted to go. Where do you think that inspiration came from?
I think my inspiration came from my mom, and it always has. My mom is sort of like a warrior princess. She's gone through a lot in her life. She survived cancer. She came to Stockholm, Sweden as a young girl at 17, and she sort of, you know, was striving on her own and got her education. She really wanted to be a nurse, and she did everything on her own. And she was a single mom. So my inspiration was always her. She pushed me to pursue an education in broadcast. She told me to sort of go to Chicago. You have an uncle there. I'll take care of everything else. And she's really the one who pushed me to become who I am today.
Wow, so cool. So when did you move to Chicago? How old were you?
I was 19, I believe, which is a very long time ago. I don't even want to age myself, but I was young. And when I first started college on orientation, I actually didn't know I wanted to do broadcasting at that moment, but they have all these check boxes, like, what do you want to study? What are you interested in? That's when I realized, oh, wow, I actually want to do television.
Wow.
And I want to do television news. So I just, crossed the box. And then ever since, that's what I've been doing in my life.
Oh, that's so cool. So a lot of women who are in pageantry, either they get into pageantry because they eventually want to be an on-air personality, that often happens, or they're in pageantry and they become really great getting on camera. And so it kind of becomes a natural transition. But I want to hear about your transition into getting on air, because it's not easy. There's only a few spots there. And so to really level yourself up and present yourself as an on-air personality, what was that like for you? What things do you think really made you stand out and be successful?
I think it's very important to know every aspect of television. I think that even if you want to be on air, you should be a producer, you should be a writer, you should learn every aspect of television if that's what you want to do, because it's a lot better if you can write your own scripts, delivering those, scripts and the news. But the more you know, the more education you have about the craft that you want to do, the better you will be. Obviously, being on air. I mean, I still do, some live streams for ABC, and I still do on air here and there because I do love people and I love interviewing people. But my passion is really storytelling, meaning getting the story, chasing that big story, getting to share the stories that people share with me. So that became sort of my passion, learning producing. I didn't know even that I wanted to do that because, yeah, when I entered into my college classroom, I was like, I'm going to be a CNN international anchor. I just had my mindset, and that's what I wanted to do. But the more I learned, the more I also learned about myself, knowing that I wanted to produce, but more so I wanted to tell people stories. Storytelling became my passion.
Yeah. So did most of your experience, and maybe even others of your peers in the industry, do most people get their knowledge and experience from classroom, like they get a degree in broadcast journalism, or is it mostly internships or just experience?
Honestly, I think things are different now than they were, 20 years ago, or when I was in school, which was a very long time ago. But I do think a lot of people get their experience from internships. Internships are key in broadcast industry because not every school has hands-on experience. Not every school has a studio in their school. I mean, Columbia College in Chicago has a studio and their own, newscast. People don't have that. Northwestern University has great journalism, but they don't have the hands-on experience. So you need the internships. You have to get internships. And that's how I learned that I loved news. I mean, my first internship was with WGN in Chicago, which I sort of asked around that was the best place to be because they actually let you do hands-on, they let you have hands-on experience, whereas a lot of networks don't let you sort of touch equipment. They don't let you go out. They just have you sit at a desk. But I learned from my peers that that's where I needed to be. And my first day, the reporter overslept.
No.
And my assignment manager said to me, "You want to be a reporter, right?" I looked at him and I said, "Yes." And this was my first day and it was a Sunday. And he said, "Well, I need this interview. This man is accused of killing his wife. I need you to go and get it. Say, show me what you got."
Wow.
And I went there and I thought, you know what? I am a reporter right now. It's my first day of my internship and I knew I had to bring a story back.
Yep.
And I got the interview. I sat there, I interviewed him by myself, no direction. I asked all the questions. And I came back and it aired in loop, on all the, on obviously on WGN and also their cable station. And he said to me after, "Okay, you see, now you're hired." Basically, I was still on trial as an intern. And because I had asked for that internship too. Wow. So internships are everything. I had more than one, and it's really where you learn things, and you have to learn things hands-on. You really do. Mm-hmm. I learned everything I know basically at that internship. It was amazing.
Wow, so cool. Yeah. And I know when some people hear internship, the first thing is, well, unpaid. Are most internships in your industry also unpaid, or is it often common to get a paid internship?
I think it all depends on the institution. Like I don't think that that's like, I think more internships are paid now where they were like when I had that internship, I got like a stipend for I think travel for the weekend, but I didn't get paid.
Yeah.
But then I had a fellowship later on, and I got an hourly payment for it, but it was not much.
Yeah.
So I had two different part-time jobs as well.
Wow.
So
yeah.
yeah, and not everyone has their parents who help them.
That's right.
So you have to get a job. And
Yeah.
so I had school full time, I had two part-time jobs, and I had my internships.
Wow.
And I managed.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And I love that story of tenacity, because when you have that vision and you know what you're after and it's so crystal clear and it's like you're salivating for it, it really fuels that energy to say, you know what, I'm doing this, so you don't kind of back away. Although I'm sure in many moments you were like, why am I doing this? Did you ever hit the wall where you were like, oh, I'm putting out all this energy and it's just, I feel unsuccessful?
Looking back, like obviously 20 years ago or, more than 20 years ago when I had that internship, I think I didn't allow myself to feel that way because there was one point where I actually had a job now working as sort of a field producer / desk assistant and also on the assignment desk at local ABC. At the same time, I had my fellowship at ABC Network. And my focus was always to complete that fellowship no matter what. That was my focus. And then I still had to, pay my rent. So I had the job finally at WLS, which, was like a godsend for me. But there were times when I worked 80 hours a week. And if I had that notion or if I had those feelings that, okay, I can't do this anymore, then I wouldn't be able to get up the next morning to do my job, right?
Yes.
So, I think that when you're young and you have the drive, you're gonna go and you're gonna keep going no matter what. And that's what I did. I kept going, and I think maybe I remember one incident, and it was, a situation where I was really exhausted and I worked 80 hours that week, and I just thought, should I really do this? And I thought, but I love this so much. My passion is this. And I didn't even know that when I was younger, as young as 13 or 14, I used to go into my neighborhood store, my grocery store, and interview people with a little camera that I got from my mom. And they had raised the prices, on the items. So I said, why are you raising the prices here? I said, because it's so hard to get to another store because we lived a little bit further away from the other people. And my childhood friend remembered this. And she even told, obviously her mom. So when I came back to visit not long ago, they said, you always said you were going to work for ABC or something, major network.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I didn't even remember those, but I did remember me always asking a lot of questions to a lot of people. And I love doing that.
Yeah, so great. So your role now is producing the news, and you mentioned getting the story. So what are the elements that make a story a really good story to put on your network?
I think a real life story that affects people no matter what, something that everyone cares about. I think it's hard to say because a lot of people care about different things, but I think a great story for the network is something that everyone cares about.
Mm-hmm. And that's probably why pageants like Miss America, Miss Universe, things like that are easily able to work with ABC because of the fact that it reaches such a big audience. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that Miss America or Miss, Universe is not all about beauty anymore, is it? It's about knowledge. It's about education. It's about leadership. You see these, beautiful young people, but it's really about what they have to offer, and I think it's more so now later in years, right? It's like you can't win a pageant just being beautiful. Right. You have to have a beautiful soul as well.
Yes, so true. Yes. So if a pageant woman, because I work with pageant women every day, and we are, creating great platforms that impact their community and even the world at a global level, what would be something that you would want to see if a girl was doing something really great, either in her community or nationwide or globally? What are the elements that she might bring to someone like you or a producer to say, hey, I've got this great idea. I want it to be on national television. What might be the elements that you would need to see as a producer to make sure, yeah, this is a good story?
Well, in any story, like anyone that if she is in the community doing something or giving back, that the people in that story are willing to sort of share with us and share their story. And just one thing to remember is personal stories. So to have a personal story that anyone that you're dealing with are willing to share. Personal stories that relate to everyone. They relate to you, they relate to me. And that's something to remember. And of course, it's television, so anything that we can film that's that works.
Yeah. Yeah, so making sure it's a visual thing. So if they're doing some type of community service, then it needs to be in action. Like, what is it looking like? Who are the players that are involved? Can we talk to them? Yeah, really great.
Absolutely.
That's good. Yeah. So what about somebody that is working on a maybe more global level, and they want to be on like the Today Show, or they want to be on, something big? And of course, so maybe a story, although I don't know, I could be wrong. What would be the tenets of like, okay, this is national?
Like I said, I think it goes back to being a network story of, Good Morning America and or the Today Show. It's that affects everyone. If there's something that just affects some, like here in Los Angeles, just affects the community here, it's not really a national story, is it? But if it's something that affects everyone across the country, it's it's naturally a network story. So it's going back to what we spoke about earlier, at it being something that affects everyone.
Yeah, the who. So who are we speaking to? Who are we impacting? And then that.
And what are we impacting? How, when, it's all of those, that we learn in journalism.
Yeah, exactly.
School,
yeah.
So.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Answer all the quick questions there. Yeah. That's cool. Great. Good. So, so you have had experience in pageantry and then transitioned into broadcast journalism. Are there anything is there anything in particular that you might advise a woman who's competing in pageants? What might she do to better position herself after her year of pageantry to enter into broadcast journalism? What might be some advice you have?
I think great advice is to get an internship where you think you want to be, because seeing it, obviously being there and the hands-on experience that you'll have, it's how I mean, my first day on my internship with WGN, I was sent out on a story and interviewing someone for a real story. And I didn't have, training. I didn't have anything else. That was that day. That was my training. Yeah. And I realized that day that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to interview people. I wanted to share someone's story. That's when I knew that storytelling was sort of my deal.
Yeah, that's great. So tell us a little scoop of behind the scenes. What's it been like to work at ABC?
I love working here. Yeah. I love sharing stories. I mean, I've been here technically for almost 16 years.
Wow.
I've been staff now for almost 14. So the scoop is, obviously, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't be here this long.
Yeah, totally.
But I love it here because obviously when I was younger and I first started off, I was traveling a lot, and I love traveling. They sent me to Thailand in the beginning of my years for a big story there. The experience I got there was invaluable. Then also when, a lot of things happen, like let's say, the Pope story happens in Italy, they still need coverage in New York, then they're very flexible and have me work out of the New York office where all our bosses are. And I love being there. So I sort of get this, worldly or global experience working for ABC. But I truly do believe that ABC is one of those networks that still do the good old journalism. We share, and we seek the truth, which I think is the reason why I know it's the reason why I went into journalism in the first place.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. You're right. And that there needs to be more of that, sharing as much as possible. So that's awesome that that's the quest and you've been a participant of that. That's so cool. So for pageant women that are going on a media interview, so you interview like a Miss America or somebody, she's stepping into a television interview. What might be some tips that would make her really look great on camera?
Oh, well, I think that if you are in pageantry already, you probably have all the tips.
But even beyond just the look, but like what would make her come off, I guess, as just excellent, like do a good story?
I think be confident and articulate. Public speaking is everything, even when you're on stage, being in a pageant, right? And that's exactly those skills that you need working in television. Be confidently humble, So that's it's the same skills that are needed working for a major network.
Mm-hmm. Are there certain go-to questions that you generally kind of file in the back of your mind for most interviews that you do with someone when you're trying to drag the story out of them?
Actually, no. For me, it's more about finding out who they are. And that's kind of how I know what to ask them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So when they share their story, then I know what to ask. So, and I think that's sort of the go-to sort of, skill that I do is I listen.
Yeah.
You have to be a good listener to be a good interviewer.
Yeah, so true. Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. I love this. I'm just taking a look at my notes to see if there were any other details of things that let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a pageant woman that did an incredible interview that you were like, she's so good? Is there anyone that comes to mind that you were like, oh man, that pageant girl was awesome?
Yes, actually, the more recent one, the story that went, I mean, it's a story, but it went viral. I'm forgetting her name, but she was really brilliant. But I do think that there's been a lot of moments lately in pageantry where people have really said great things, and people are very sort of globally educated, which I think it's very nice to see.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely,
very inspiring to see, actually.
Yeah, so true. Well, Sabina, I just want to honor you for the work that you are doing because you're right. That inspiration is something that you are doing to put together and to bring that story into the homes of people everywhere. So I just want to honor you for that and also for shining a positive light on pageantry. That is something that we always appreciate when all of the stereotypes make us look crazy. People like you are bringing the truth. So we appreciate that you do that and just want to honor you for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person at the Beauty Brand Believe Expo that's coming up in March. That is going to be so much fun. I know that you're going to be presenting there. I think it's Broadcast Journalism 101. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's going to be so good. Yeah, because so many women are interested in it. So it's going to be an awesome opportunity to connect with you. But even before or after that, where can people connect with you socially, online, or any website?
It's I forgot to send you that actually today, but it's Sabina ABC News. It's my Instagram and also my Twitter. So I'm very easy to find. So it's Sabina ABC News, just one word, and you can find me there.
Perfect. That's great. And I'll make sure we have those links in the show notes and everything so people can find those and follow you and engage with you further. Thank you again, Sabina. Such a pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in getting more information around this topic or you want to meet Sabina in person, you can join us at the Beauty Brand Believe Expo that's going to be happening on March 10th, 2018. We would love to have you there. It'd be so fun to meet you and just have a chance to connect and learn and share together. So go to beautybrandbelieve.com to get the full scoop on that. And if you loved this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos just like this. I can't wait to meet you in March at the Expo. I'll see you then. Bye for now.